Hello everyone, welcome to the Kevin Lee Social. Thank you for tuning in. What initially began as an 8-part series interviewing entrepreneurs to share and inspire how they've successfully pivoted during COVID-19, I have decided not only to continue this series, but also to expand on the scope to understand and learn about people's craft, philosophy, the challenges they face in the industry, and their favorite failures that have helped shape them to become who they are today. By going deeper and understanding different thought leaders, businesses, and industries, the idea is to help cross-pollinate ideas applicable in your life and inspire action in this new norm we live in. I hope you enjoy the show. Thank you. Before we get on with the show, today's podcast is sponsored by Altitude Tea. Altitude Tea specializes in rare and exotic teas you can't find on supermarket shelves. Teas grown on high altitudes are more nutrient-dense due to the cold nights and misty peaks that slows the growth of the tea plant, leading to a higher concentration of aromatic oils and richer flavors. They are located in Waterloo and they do private tea ceremonies where you can learn how to drink tea mindfully using a traditional gongfu set and have over 20 varieties of tea to choose from. For our listeners, you can use the code BEYOND at checkout for 15% off. Today we have Genady Knizhnik, the co-founder of Lillypad.ai, a game-changing English learning platform featuring a conversational artificial intelligent tutor named Lilly. Lillypad is the world's first application to allow English learners the opportunity to read in 4 interactive ways while relying on Lilly to inform them when they mispronounce words. The users can correct themselves as well as look up the meaning, listen to, or translate any word into their native language. Moreover, Lilly acts as a personal English tutor to help students to master their English language skills through a conversation. In addition to the student-focused offering, the company caters to ESL teachers and English tutors through the Lotus Suite, which provides the opportunity to manage a group of students, assign personalized reading material, test their knowledge, and track individual progress. Everyone, please help me welcome Genady. Hi, Genady. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Kevin?
I am well. It's 10 p.m. here in Sydney, Australia. What time is it over there for you?
It's 8 o'clock in the morning.
10 o'clock in the morning. So
so I appreciate you taking the time so late to listen to it.
So we're total opposite ends of the scale. My night, your morning. Thank you for coming on to the podcast. I've been looking forward to this one. It's quite unique and different to the other guests I've had. Excited to unpack Lillypad.ai. So I'd like to start with the audience. Where did the idea of Lillypad spring from?
So basically, when we started to analyze the language learning industry, we came to the realization that there is a gap in the current spectrum of applications because most of them cater to the beginners or early intermediate level of learners because they're focused primarily on foundational skills like spelling, pronunciation, basic phrases, and grammar. But there is a lack of real tools for intermediate or advanced language learners. And that crowd tends to go towards courses or tutors. And we thought that maybe there is an opportunity to fill this gap utilizing our approach. And so basically, this is how it started.
To follow along with that, I'm curious, why did you guys choose an English platform?
Yeah, also the application is geared towards teaching different languages. English is by far the most popular or more sought after language right now. And you can imagine that due to globalization and internet proliferation, ability to speak or read English is extremely important for betterment of life of individuals. People even who live in the countries that English is not the first language, but it's critical for them to know that language in order to improve their career perspective or their life perspective. And there are some industry reports that indicate that there are almost more than 1 billion people learning English globally, which I don't know if it's true or not, but there are definitely hundreds of millions of people who are interested in improving their lives, and English is one of those tools that they need.
I am with you on this, Genady. There are more and more people connected to the internet than ever before. And everyone's got a smartphone, they can connect to the internet, they can access resources. But a lot of that resource, the majority of that information is all in English. And so it's very important for them to be able to understand that so they can expand their knowledge, expand their study for, as you said, different career opportunities as well. And I love how the actual teaching of English and the basics, it's been tackled in so many ways. And I love how you
Right.
guys are trying to fill the gap of the intermediate stage and beyond. So that's what's tough, right? And like you start off with a basic app and learn the ABCs and like really basic stuff. You might get a start on it, but to then up level, it's not always that accessible for everyone around the world.
You're
Having a
absolutely
platform
correct.
like we
You're
have,
absolutely
yeah, it can really help. And why Lillypad, the name?
Yeah, so basically, if you go to our website, you will see two characters. We have a tadpole or frog, and his name is Tad. And we have a butterfly, and her name is Lily. Actually, butterfly represents artificial being. But if you think about it, both the butterfly and the frog represent transformation. And what we're trying to achieve here is, as we just discussed a second ago, we are trying to help people to transform their life. And Lillypad, in a literal term, is like a springboard. So the combination of all those three things together came kind of to be our branding. So it's all about transformation. It's about helping people to springboard into better future through the new skills.
Yes.
I don't know if it makes sense, but
No, absolutely. Very clever. And I'm always curious behind a certain name why that was chosen, but that was a very good explanation. Thank you for that.
yeah.
And let's dive deeper into Lilypad for the audience so people can understand more of what it's about. Let's begin with its main strength, because as you
Sure.
said, yeah, I'll let you go.
Thank you. So the fundamental idea behind our application is the fact that reading actually represents probably the most recommended path towards achieving fluency and proficiency in a given language. So if you take that idea and you layer on top of it state-of-the-art technologies of today, you can create an artificial reading campaign that basically holds hands of our members during reading aloud session, reading together sessions, and give immediate feedback on their mistakes, correcting their pronunciation, helping them to create their inner voice, basically, or like conversational fluency, because they read a lot and they can basically listen and see immediately what they're doing wrong. So in addition to that, we do not confine our application to specific content. We allow users to bring any type of material they're interested in. And let's assume for a second that you're interested in the financial industry and I'm interested in insurance industry. You will bring your material, I'll bring my material. And it creates a very immersive experience because you kill two birds with one stone. You read about what you love while learning. So you're not confined to, let's say, to predefine, okay, today we learn about train arriving to the platform, which is interesting, but maybe not relevant to you as a professional or as an intermediate and advanced. So it's an open platform that allows you to concentrate on the content that is interested to you at the level that is your at this moment, but allows you to progress as with you as long as you want. And in addition to that, we wanted to create a hyper-personalized experience. Because let's imagine for a second that you and I read the same text. You might have different, you might not know specific words that are different from mine. I will make different mistakes than you. It does not make sense to force you to practice things that I had difficulties with and vice versa. So what happens during that process is that whatever mistakes we collect or whatever interest you had in specific terms and words, those things start following you around. And then when you practice them, we are using lots of sophisticated algorithms, but basically to teach you only about things that you care about. And on top of that, we offer an enormous variety of content. It stems from books to the TED Talks. And as I mentioned, you can bring your own article. And that creates a very immersive and engaging experience for our users. Does it make sense?
Yes, it does, Genady. It's very interesting because the angle that you're taking at makes a lot of sense, because when people are studying, people get bored of the topics that they don't care about. And that's generally what's related to study, is because they throw you all these topics, which, yes, are very essential, like where is the bathroom, where is this, how do you speak to the train officer, and how do you get from A to B? Yes, it's very important, but you get to a point where you want to learn different things. And having such a wide variety of different topics, like I love TED Talk. It's a win for me. I can head down that path. Or like you said, I can bring my own material and learn with that. And so going with that, can you walk us through the journey, the path of what it looks like? For example, like you said, if I brought my own material, how does that look when we feed it through? You walk us through.
Yeah. It would be easier if I could show you to show the picture than describe it, but let's try.
This is a podcast, so everyone's gonna listen in.
Yeah, exactly. Just to try maybe to visualize it. Imagine that you have a reading application, Kindle, Kobo, Apple Reading, whatever.
Yeah.
So you have a text, right, in text in front. But now imagine that you have an ability not only silently read, but read aloud. So you start reading aloud, and the application immediately picks up everything you said, determines what you read correctly, incorrectly, highlights everything. So you immediately have that feedback, visual feedback. Or, so this is one mode. We call it reading mode. So you read to Lilly. It's one mode. Another mode is that, let's imagine for a second that you are not very familiar with the text. So you don't feel comfortable just go straight away and read immediately. So we have another mode which is called read repeat. So we simulate in a child-parent relationship basically, because Lily will read the phrase and you will repeat after her because you just heard the pace and the pronunciation of the entire phrase, and you will repeat. And again, it will highlight to you what you did correctly, incorrectly, and you can do it as many times as you want throughout the text. Or there is another mode, which is read with, you take turns, you read. You read, you read. So you listen, you try. And of course, the last one is the most obvious one, is the listening mode. It's like an audiobook or a podcast. It's just allows you to develop that ability to get used to the language while everything is being highlighted. You can immediately interact with the text and so on. So basically what happens from a reading standpoint, these are at the moment, the 4 reading modes that we are offering, but we are bringing new to the market very soon. But that is the core that allows you to basically develop your conversational fluency, because when you read aloud, you have to speak at certain pace and not to stumble and have proper pronunciation so people can understand it. And this modes help you with that. Now, to answer your question, how do you take the external content? So, for example, as a student, you can subscribe for blogs. If you're interested in reading specific blogs, you just subscribe to it. And if there's a specific article or blog post that you're interested in, you just click on it and then it becomes part of your library. You can go on the internet, you can select any URL that represents an article, and it can be imported immediately, and you will have the same immersive experience. As I mentioned, we have TED Talks, we have speeches, famous speeches, because some people like history, and actually we see that a lot of people are interested in biographies and history. And so the variety of content plus this layer of artificial reading campaign creates a very unique experience. And on top of that, we have what we call learning pads. Again, play on words to be smart about it. And those learning pads is actually the areas where you practice the mistakes you make. And this is when I mentioned earlier, personalized experience, is that everything you had difficulties with will be remembered for you. And then we will use spaced repetition and other algorithms to basically hammer you on until you really know how to pronounce it, how to spell it, or what the meaning of the word, and so
on. That is phenomenal. Literally is like your own private tutor. And just to even understand and fathom the AI technology in analyzing and like in real time, just processing all that information and giving live feedback. It's crazy. Like the analogy you said about the whole parent-child emulation. Lillypad is your reading with Lillypad would be incredible. It's such a resourceful thing. You're democratizing and digitizing the private tutor. It's incredible.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, and this is our goal. It's absolutely the case.
And with these days, to go along with that, everything is so digital, and it's like how we're connecting now. We're connecting over Zoom. Everything is moving, and able to supply this kind of resource to people all over the world that need it, especially when they're growing up in a country that English isn't their first language. It's very resourceful. So it's an incredible thing that you guys are working on.
No, great. No, thank you.
Your answer has just completely answered my next question, because I had written down a question about how does it differ to say Duolingo, which I use and many people use, but I don't even have to explain it. It's a very different to Duolingo in a sense.
But I think it's worth stopping on this question for 1 second.
Let's do it. Let's do it, because a lot of people think AI language learning, everyone thinks Duolingo. So let's give a Lillypad a fair explanation against it.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's a very important question to ponder, because as any entrepreneur, you always worry that maybe you're going after a completely saturated market, and can you really differentiate, and can you really create a value that will be so appealing that you can grab a market share in it is a very crowded market, and there is a lot of promises are made 5 seconds a day, and you're suddenly like there is a lot going on in that market. And when we think about this, for us, we position ourselves as a complementary service to Duolingo. We do not believe we compete with them. We actually have a phrase, we call it next chapter in your English language learning. Is because, as I mentioned before, there are a plethora of applications, and some of them better than others, who allow you to really master foundational skills, lots of vocabulary, spelling, pronunciation, and so on. But I know many people, and I'm not sure what about you, but who use Duolingo for hundreds of days, and they have great vocabulary, but they cannot have a conversation. And they reach plateau at some point. And again, I'm not trying to bash Duolingo. It's an amazing company, amazing application. They're very successful. But we see ourselves as a complementary service, because once people graduated from that application, once they reach that level of early intermediate or intermediate advanced and so on, we can benefit them, because now they can practice all those foundational skills they learn utilizing one of the most proven techniques, which is reading. And the beauty of reading is that there is no end to the complexity of the material that you can bring in. You can start with some basic text, and you can end up with some educational papers that's written by scholars, which are extremely complex and have their own even terminology and language. Because we have some people who use in our application, they say, okay, I am preparing for a presentation, so I will load the presentation into our application, and I'll go through it, because I need to make sure I practice and say things in a proper way that the audience can understand. Or alternatively, if you want to become a proficient in very specific industry, you need to learn and read material that is from that industry, because financial industry, insurance, high tech, they all have their own lingo. So you have to get familiar with that language. And an open reading platform with the tools that we offer creates this endless opportunity for practice. And so you can progress as much as you need. So we believe we are complementary to them, to answer it shortly.
Yes, yes. As you were explaining that, I'm thinking I am the exact example you were just talking about. I use Duolingo. I've been learning French, and I've got a 480-day streak. And
exactly.
I wouldn't be
people brag about this streak. Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to have a conversation with you, like in French. Like now that I watch a French movie, I'm like, oh, I know that word, or I know that word, oh, I can read a bit of that, I can read a bit of that. But then I wouldn't be able to, if a French person was in front of me and started talking, I wouldn't be able to hold a conversation. And that's 480 days.
Exactly the case. It's exactly the case. Because people always brag about how many days they did in their, but it always ends up with the same comment as you made.
Exactly. So in this case, definitely Lillypad, I can see it can make such a difference in that sense compared to Duolingo, because it really focuses on reading and reading aloud and understanding it that way, which is a lot more important in conversation, I think, for sure. Next, I wanted to talk about the advancement of AI. AI has improved tremendously over the past few years in so many different industries. How do you see it further impacting the future of your industry?
I think it's just amazing. And of course, it went through multiple reincarnations and false promises, and it's always back and forth. It's a hype or it's real, and there is, as always, truth is somewhere in the middle, right? So there are some hype things, but there are very real AI-based technologies that we already using today, which are absolutely critical to everything we do, and which is basically speech recognition, voice synthesis, natural language processing and understanding. All those things are real. It's not, and we benefited from it actually. One of the things that is propelling that industry is your smart speaker or smart home, right? All the Alexas and Google, because they need to interact with you. And obviously enormous companies put in enormous, huge amounts of money in making that as accessible and as correct as possible. So that is just the foundational part. But if you go further, right now there is basically mind-blowing research going on related to text comprehension, real-time definite classification of what was everything was about, the ability to correct things on the fly. And Grammarly is a simple example of it, but there are a lot, not simple, sorry. Grammarly is an amazing product.
Yes.
So I'm not trying to, but it's the most obvious example for it. But there are so much created, so much technology behind it in order to be able to real-time correct phrases, correct mistakes, grammatical mistakes that people make, and so on. And even abilities to have an open conversation. Again, it's not like you have sentient AI that knows how to talk about everything, but you get into the point that you can have some coherence that's okay from a learning standpoint. So we are very excited about everything that we are monitoring it very closely, and there's so many things that come into market, and we are strategically trying to figure out how can we benefit, how can we create additional value to our customers that will basically make a difference in their learning journey. So it is an amazing field.
Yeah. I've been watching the AI field as well, and more in the art space, but just seeing how GPT-3 has evolved and like the language to text model and everything, it's insane. It's not, people are using it day to day without realizing it too much, but I think it's just going to go from here to then bam, and then before you know, everyone's using it and not realizing, it's like, holy crap, the technology is just blown up.
No, I completely agree. It's like similar with at some point it did went vertical.
Yeah.
Because it became so useful and obvious, like that it makes sense to use. So yeah, it is and of course it touches many fields, art, language, you name it.
And I think it's a great model too, because I do believe we're moving more towards an audio-based model and less visual in the future. Like you said, we were talking about the smart home models, Alexa and all that stuff. They're all voice activated there. And I think your platform eventually can merge very neatly into those platforms quite easily.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because you get home, you go, hey Alexa, let's start Lillypad with X and X document that I'm learning.
It's funny you mention it because we have a prototype like that.
And that's amazing. Can't wait.
Yeah. It's not productized. It's not productized at all, but when we were playing with that, it was one of the things we did.
Yeah. The time will come. And that can release it.
Listen, you can do. We have limited resources, so we have to be very focused on what we're doing.
Yes. Genady, from your research, your time into this whole project, what do you see are the biggest barriers for people trying to learn English?
So as with everything else, it's hard to learn something new. You have to have a discipline, and you have to have a commitment, and you also have to schedule and allocate time. And unfortunately, it's not as trivial as you might think for many people to really commit and be disciplined and just go about it. So it's amazing you did 472 days Duolingo, which shows some effort and some commitment, and you were consciously making that choice every day. But many people, they have a desire to improve their lives, to improve their skills, but they lack the discipline and stamina or grit, if you will, to execute on it. So we see that, and I don't think it's revolutionary what I'm saying right now, but it is the biggest barrier, because only people who really care about changing or acquiring the specific skill, they will persevere, because you cannot learn. I'm sure you've heard of this statement, 10,000 hours, right? From the Goldwall.
Yes.
From what was the name of the book? I forgot, but he was talking about that you need to have 10,000 hours of proficiency in order to really become good at something. But forget 10,000 hours. Think about 1,000 or 2,000 hours.
Yes.
It's a lot. And I don't know if you saw, but on our website, we have an area which we call fluoroscope. And that is basically, it tells you, okay, you're at level A, you want to be at level B. How much time do you want to commit? How many days are you going to do it? And how many minutes and how many days a week you're going to commit? And we've done some homework, and we created a calculator that will tell you, okay, if you're going to spend 15 minutes a day, 2 days a week on learning the language, it will take years. Because it's not based on our models. It's models, proven models from the industry and so on. So if you really want to improve, you have to commit, and you have to spend 10 days in order to do that. And this is the biggest barrier. And the second part is the purchasing power. Also, we are trying, based on our research, and we're interacting with our users all the time, we are trying to be sensitive to the fact that people have different purchasing power. But still, we're finding some users that cannot afford even that. And so we're trying to figure out the methodology.
So just going quickly back on that first point. So do you actually display it on the website or on the software and program? If I say I will only dedicate 15 minutes, 2 days a week, and then you would spit out, that would take you 10 years to learn.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys say?
If you go to our website and you search, it's called, the calculator itself called Fluoroscope. Yeah. And the link on the website, it basically says, click on time to, and you will put where you are and where you want to go and how much time you're willing to put into it. You will see that how realistic your goals are or not.
That's great. That's great, because that's something, for example, Duolingo doesn't really do, right? Like you just start and it gamifies everything and you go. But then sometimes you don't dedicate very much time to it. You might only dedicate 5 minutes to it a day or whatever, just to get that streak or get onto the next level or whatever it may be. But then it doesn't actually make you proficient over time just because you dedicate a little bit of time every day.
That is the point. It's because what is the goal? If your goal to truly become proficient in language, you will have to work at it.
Yeah.
If you want to entertain yourself, then it's a different thing.
That's great. Yeah. There's no shortcut to learning.
Unfortunately, people, there are lots of claims in the industry saying, okay, and we actually, if you go to that page that I mentioned, you will see we have a video with Todd explaining how to use it. And actually we indicating that 15 minutes a day for a couple of days a week will not give you anything. Obviously, you will pick up certain words and whatever. And it's unfortunate that I wish it was like in Matrix. You just went to sleep and suddenly you are proficient. So nobody wants to do it, but it's not an easy thing. As any other skill that you learn, but you have to dedicate time to it. I had to do it 2 times, and it was very painful, but I had to do it because I believed it will change my life. Sorry if it's a very gloomy.
No, but it is the reality and it is the truth. Yeah. Like it's also certain generations as well. We see a lot of the younger generation, they want their attention spans are smaller. They want everything fast and they want everything now. And sometimes you gotta understand it takes patience. It takes grit. Like you said, discipline as well to learn something. And that's, although you shared some basic things, but they're also the most crucial things to learn a language. So very good answers there. Genady, I wanted to move quickly on to a different topic. And while I was doing some research on your website, I came across C-Scope, sustainability is a close thing to my heart. So I'd love you to share what Seascope is about to the audience.
My partner, he's an avid scuba diver, and he's passionate about this topic, and specifically endangered marine animals. And so these are the organizations that we support with whatever we can, and that represents basically social responsibility, because also we're trying to transform people's lives and improve people's lives. We also believe that there are things around us that require attention, and we want to promote those endangered, at least awareness about endangered marine animals. And I don't know if you played a little bit there, but we decided to use each of the 12 animals as the zodiac, and basically provided this animal represents this month, and we provided a text explaining what it is. And so, yeah, it is something that is important for us. It's not it's not our core business, of course. We want to make sure that people are aware of it.
Yes. I think it's very important with businesses with influence and power and voice to share a form of social responsibility. In these days, I think it's very important.
Yeah.
And as far as I understand, Lillypad is a fairly new startup that's come out. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And from my research, with thousands of beta users rolled out in 79 countries, how did you go about sharing it so far and wide and that quickly?
So basically, if you ask me, we are not wide enough.
Yes, it needs to go more wide.
I want hundreds of thousands. So,
yes.
But to answer your question is that we only released the commercial version in the end of June.
Right.
Before that, we were running 6 months of pre-beta trial. And the purpose of that trial was multifold. So on one hand, we wanted, of course, to make it as typical. We want to make sure that our technology is good and we don't have any mistakes there and so on. On the other hand, we wanted to make sure that we have a product market fit, that we offer something that people like. And one of the things that we discovered that people who do like the product, they spend on average between 20 to 50 minutes a day using it, which is significant. In our day and age, to dedicate 20 to 50 minutes a day just for that activity is not trivial. So this is and going back to your point about current generation, immediate results and things like that, it gave us encouragement indicating that, okay, there is a certain demographic that will really resonate, and they really have the discipline and interest to persevere and continue. And the third was, okay, we wanted to figure out our marketing strategy. So we were trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to reach out to those people? So we were doing gazillions of experiments during that time with paid advertisement, word of mouth, and so on. And this is basically how it came about. So my partner and I were always asking ourselves, like, what are we missing? What we don't know? And every time we read, it's just experiment and work hard, experiment and work hard. So this is what we did for the 6 months. It doesn't seem to be this holy grail answer that tells you, okay, magically everyone will be aware of your solution and everyone will be excited about it. So we're doing a lot of many small things. And we were also trying to figure out which creative will work with which audiences, with which kind of, because we didn't know whether the same creative will resonate properly with South America versus African countries versus Asian countries, Western European. Like we were not aware of it. So we were just trying to, okay, today we're targeting this geography and starting hammering that and trying to see what works, and then we switch into another and so on. So this is how it came about. Does it make sense?
It does. I can imagine it being a very big challenge to go out and then understand the network and how that network is going to create an atomic network to create that network effect and expand in one area. And then if you try to take that into another country, the game can change again. Just because it worked in one country, it doesn't mean it's going to work in another country because of the way how they share as well.
Yeah, and we have experienced that. We definitely experienced that we could not transfer like the same knowledge from one region to another.
And that is the game that you have to continue to, like you said, experiment and work hard, experiment and work hard with every new market. And
unfortunately,
there's no shortcut there as well. And obviously this is quite a big project and you're trying to achieve something very big. Can you share any particular challenges you are facing at the moment?
Just piggybacking on what we just discussed is just we believe that we reached the point where our technology is in a good shape and our user experience is very good. People provide good feedback to us. So now the key focus is getting the word out. And we are self-funded. We are a small organization. And global growth and exposure is an expensive endeavor. So we are trying to find the balance, grow our presence and awareness while not spending millions upon millions of dollars, which we don't have anyway. So we are trying to be very conscious. So this is the biggest challenge, the exposure and growth. Because technologically, product market fit, we believe we're in a good place.
Are you looking to raise a round of funding?
We are open for it. We open for it. We are not actively seeking that yet. But we were preparing some materials in order to start that activity because we wanted to achieve certain results. We wanted to prove to ourselves that what we are doing is correct, that we are not misleading ourselves. And we're in this place right now that, yes, we will be very interested in working with external investors or at least connecting with the experienced and successful entrepreneurs that could play a mentor role for us, even because we are trying, we have our experiences, we have technical, entrepreneurial experience on, but all journeys are different all the time. And to find some people who are successfully deliver SaaS applications globally and have something are willing to share and mentor, we'll be very happy as well. It's not only about money, but also because money by itself is not enough. It's about expertise and perspective and connection and so on.
Yeah, I think it's a classic case of finding the right who to help you take it to the next level.
Exactly. Yeah, because we are still okay. But we know that in order for us to springboard to the next level, we will need more capital and more expertise.
So let's fast track this whole Lillypad, go into the future, the next 5 years. Where do you ideally see Lillypad?
Yeah, obviously it's very hard to predict, but our focus is that, as I mentioned, the market is extremely crowded. And so within the next 5 years, we want to get our market share and solidify our position as a de facto application that caters to intermediate and advanced learners. Because both the methodology we use and tools we use are quite superior at the moment. So we hope we can leverage them. But as you know, in tech world, everything changes so fast. So
that's right.
It's very hard to predict, but this is at least our hope.
Look, at least you guys are giving it the best shot that you guys can. And from the sounds of it, the project sounds amazing. The technology and the application and the achievement you guys are trying to get out of this, I think it can have such a global impact. So I really hope you guys get the support that you need.
I appreciate it.
As we are reaching the tail end of our conversation, we've always asked a couple of questions for most of our guests. Are you excited about any particular features or releases later this year or early next year that you could share with the audience?
So basically, first of all, yes, absolutely excited because this is the first real commercial year. Because as I mentioned, we just released the commercial version in end of June, so we are second month of that release. So next 12 months will be extremely critical for us. And instead of just speaking about specific features, we constantly improve. We constantly add additional things. And we had a conversation about the AI a couple of minutes ago. And so we are looking to bring something very unique to our members very soon. But at the same time, more and more experimentation with the marketing, different marketing strategies, how can we grow. So it is a very exciting, scary, and important year for us from multiple angles. Yes. To answer your question, yeah, we're very excited, but we're very concerned about it as well.
As you mentioned, a very crucial year, a lot to do, and I really wish you guys all the best with that.
Thank you.
And a little bit more about yourself, Genady. Do you have a favorite book or movie that you'd recommend? One or the
The
other. It
book
doesn't have to be
that's
both.
yeah, sure. Like there are so many books that influenced and impacted me over the years, but there are a couple that I always remember. The one that is really fundamental was I don't know if you've heard of that. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not a very bright, trying kind of story, but I think it's a fundamental story towards understanding oneself and understanding the purpose of life, basically, or how you find yourself in life. I don't know if you had the chance to read it, but
I have. It's one of my top reads, definitely.
Okay, perfect. And so that is like from the really ones that made an impact, but from the ones that just interesting. Just recently, I read the 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. I don't know if you've heard that one. It's from Noah Yuval Harari.
Yes.
He's he wrote *Sapiens* and so on. So one of the recent books is called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. He's quite a famous philosopher, slash historian, and he's trying to project into the future, anticipating the political and technological changes that we all going to experience. And I think it's a valuable, you don't have to believe everything he says, but I think it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
That you can glean from it.
A great recommendation. I haven't read that one, but I have listened to other podcasts where they break it down a little bit, and some very interesting points they bring up.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And are there any new beliefs or behaviors that have had a positive impact in your life in the recent years?
Yeah, several years ago, I basically discovered or learned about Stoicism. It's a Stoic philosophy, and I thought it's very important to learn, and I am indoctrinating my children with it right now, is because I think it simplifies our life, or perspective how to live your life in a virtuous manner, how to focus on the things that are in your control. All those basic philosophical or those axioms, they're very important in order to, in my opinion, it's my personal opinion, to live a healthy life and a happy life. Because in the end, we all work, we all strive towards achieving something, but we also have to remember that what is important, what we should be worried about, what we should not be worried about, what we can be worried about or cannot even do anything about. So to have that perspective, I really felt that it had an important impact on me. I don't know how much you know about that area, but
no, I don't know too much about that area. But what kind of philosophy did you say it was called?
The Stoicism.
Stoicism.
So maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. But
no, I just didn't hear it clearly at the beginning. One of my favorite podcasters of all time is Tim Ferriss, and he is very into Stoicism. And one of my favorite authors is also Ryan Holiday, also writes a lot about Stoicism. So it's definitely a great philosophy to consider living your life by. I can see the appeal, definitely. Finally, Genady, how could people reach out or learn more about Lillypad?
So basically, they can visit our website, Lillypad.ai. It's Lillypad.ai. Or they can search on Facebook or Instagram, Lillypad.english. And or in Google Store, they can search again for Lillypad app. And if they want to reach out, they can just send us email from the website.
Awesome. I will put all those in the show notes. Genady, this has been a great conversation. I've learned a lot about Lillypad, and I'm excited about the future of it, the technology and the impact that it could make. I wish you guys all the best, and I'll definitely share this around. So hopefully we'll make some more noise around Lillypad. Thank you.
Kevin, I really appreciate you having us, and I'm very excited to talk about this, as you can see, but it's a real pleasure to be on your podcast. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Genady.
For sure.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show. All the links to the show notes will be available at kevinleesocial.com, spelled Kevinly. Conversely, if you have any interviews that you'd love to recommend, please send it over to kevinleesocial@gmail.com. I'd love to connect. Thank you. Until the next episode.